I never thought I'd be writing this out, but the truth is I can't keep it bottled up anymore. For years, I convinced myself it was just bad luck, just coincidence, or maybe my imagination. But the truth is much worse. And now, every time I walk home late at night, I still catch myself glancing over my shoulder, waiting to see her, the girl in the yellow hoodie. It started my freshman year of college. I'd just moved into a dorm on the edge of campus, an old brick building that creaked whenever the wind blew too hard. Classes were overwhelming, but I liked the independence, being able to walk where I wanted, when I wanted. One night in October, I left the library around 2 a.m. I remember the air was heavy, fog rolling in so thick it swallowed the lampposts. My dorm was only a 10-minute walk, but halfway there I noticed her. A girl, maybe my age, walking about 20 feet behind me. She wore a baggy yellow hoodie with the hood pulled over her head. At first I thought nothing of it. Plenty of people walked around at night. But the way she moved, it was strange. Too slow, too deliberate. Her footsteps echoed in sync with mine, as if she was mimicking me. I slowed down. So did she. I sped up. So did she. By the time I reached my dorm, my skin was crawling. I swiped my key card, glanced back, and she was just standing there under the streetlight facing me, hood still pulled low. I couldn't see her face. That was the first night. I started seeing her more often. Not every night, but enough to unsettle me. She'd show up outside the dining hall, sitting on a bench, at the gym parking lot, leaning against a car. Once I saw her standing across the street from my classroom window. Always the same hoodie, always too still, always watching. I told myself it had to be a coincidence. Maybe she lived nearby, maybe she had classes in the same building. But then little things started happening. One morning, I woke up to find a sticky note on my dorm door. Written in messy black Sharpie were the words, "I like how you run." I froze. The night before, I jogged back from the library after hearing footsteps behind me. I tried brushing it off, telling myself it was a prank. College kids do stupid things. But the next week, another note appeared. This one said, "You looked at me tonight. Pretty eyes." I stopped sleeping well after that. My roommate Chris thought I was paranoid. "Dude, you probably have some secret admirer, chill out." But there was nothing romantic about this. It felt wrong. Like I was being studied. Like every move I made was being cataloged. Then came the night that proved I wasn't just imagining things. I was walking home again, around midnight this time, when I noticed the hoodie girl across the street. She wasn't following me this time. She was walking parallel, same pace as me, eyes locked on me even as she crossed intersections without looking for cars. I finally snapped. "Hey," I shouted across the road. "What the hell is your problem?" She stopped dead in her tracks. The street was silent, fog curling around her like smoke. For the first time, she pushed her hood back. Her face was wrong. Not scarred or bloody or anything cliché like that. Just wrong. Her eyes were too wide, pupils dilated like she hadn't seen the sun in months. Her mouth stretched into a smile that was too big, too forced, like she was trying to remember how humans were supposed to smile. Then she whispered something. I couldn't hear it across the street, but I swear I saw her lips form the words, "I found you." I bolted. The next few days were a blur. I skipped classes, slept at friends' places, tried to convince myself I'd imagined it. But then Chris pulled me aside. "Dude, this is getting weird," he said, holding his phone out. On the screen was a picture of me, sleeping in my bed, my face lit by the glow of my laptop screen. "Where the hell did you get this?" I demanded. "It was slid under our door this morning." My stomach dropped. She had been inside our room. I went to campus security, but they brushed it off. "Probably a prank," the officer said, barely glancing at the photo. "Keep your door locked." I tried. God, I tried. But locks don't help when you hear scratching on the outside of your door at 3 a.m. Or when you find your window cracked open even though you swear you shut it. One night I couldn't take it anymore. I shoved a chair under the doorknob, threw in earbuds, and tried to drown everything out with music. Sometime after 4 a.m., I woke up to silence. Not normal silence, the kind where your brain screams at you that something's wrong. When I opened my eyes, I froze. She was standing at the end of my bed. The yellow hoodie hung loosely around her head tilted too far to one side, like her neck was broken. In the faint light, her grin stretched across her pale face. She whispered, barely audible over the ringing in my ears, "I like how you sleep." I don't remember screaming, but Chris swears I did. When he flicked on the light, she was gone. No open window, no unlocked door, just gone. Here's the part I've never told anyone, not even Chris. That same night after he calmed me down, I checked my phone. My photo gallery was open, and there, in a new folder I never created, were dozens of pictures. Me walking to class, me eating lunch, me showering in the dorm bathroom, the picture taken from behind the curtain, me asleep, with her yellow sleeve visible in the corner of the frame. But the last picture wasn't of me. It was of her. The hoodie pulled down, revealing her face fully this time. And here's the thing. I recognized her. She wasn't some random stalker. She was a girl from high school, one I'd barely spoken to, but who always sat in the back of class, scribbling in notebooks, staring at me when she thought I wouldn't notice. I never learned her name. She'd disappeared our junior year, rumors spreading that she'd been sent away for psychological issues. Now she was back. And she'd found me. I don't know how she keeps getting in. I don't know how she tracks me. All I know is that she's not going to stop. And last night I woke up to find a new sticky note on my pillow. In neat handwriting this time, it said, "Ready for our next game?" I haven't slept since, and I'm starting to think I'll never sleep again. I never believed in curses. I never believed in anything supernatural, really. Life seemed too ordinary, too predictable, to allow space for ghosts or demons. But I know now, evil doesn't need to be supernatural. Evil can be human. And sometimes, that's far worse. The first time I met her, she didn't seem threatening. She was quiet, shy even, with messy black hair that hung over her face and clothes that looked like they belonged in a thrift store donation bin. She sat 3 rows behind me in Sociology 101, never talking to anyone, never raising her hand. I didn't even know her name until one afternoon when I was walking back from class, and she fell into step beside me. "You don't talk much," she said. Her voice was soft but had a strange weight to it, like she was studying how the words landed. I laughed nervously. "Guess not." Her eyes flicked toward me, gray, flat, unblinking. I like that. That was the first time I felt the chill. Not from the words, but from the way she said them, like she was marking me. For a while, I thought maybe she was just socially awkward. She started showing up more often, waiting for me after class, appearing in the library at the same table I used, sometimes even standing outside the cafeteria, as if she was waiting for me to notice her. One night, when I was walking back to my off-campus apartment, I heard footsteps behind me. I spun around and there she was, half hidden under the flickering streetlight. "You dropped this," she said, holding up a folded piece of paper. I took it, confused. "I don't think that's mine." "It is," she insisted, pressing it into my hand before turning and walking away. Inside, written in tight, deliberate handwriting, were just 4 words. "Do not lock it." I stared at it for a long time, trying to figure out what it meant. I crumpled it up, tossed it in the trash, and told myself it was some weird joke. But the next morning, when I went down to the basement to grab laundry, I noticed something I'd never seen before. A door. Not the laundry room door. This one was tucked away behind a stack of old boxes. Heavy, metal with a rusted handle. The paint around it was newer than the rest of the basement, like someone had tried to cover it up. I tried the knob. Locked. And that's when I remembered her note. Over the next week, I couldn't stop thinking about that door. Why had she told me not to lock it? What was behind it? Then the nightmares started. Every night I dreamed of that basement door. Sometimes I'd hear scratching from the other side, sometimes muffled crying. Once I dreamed the door creaked open and a pale hand reached out, grabbing my ankle. I always woke up sweating, heart pounding, convinced I'd actually felt it. I tried to avoid her, but she found me. Always. One evening, as I was unlocking my apartment, she appeared at the end of the hall, just standing there, head tilted slightly, watching. "You shouldn't ignore me," she whispered. Her voice carried unnaturally far, even though she wasn't close. "The door's waiting." Then she turned and walked away. I finally broke down and told my roommate, Jared. He laughed it off at first, but when I showed him the basement door, he frowned. "Dude, I've lived here 2 years. I've never seen this thing." We both tried to yank it open, but it wouldn't budge. Jared shrugged and said maybe it led to old storage. He didn't care. I wanted to believe him, but deep down I knew better. That night, when I came home late, I found another note slipped under our door. This one said, "I left it open." I didn't want to check. God, I didn't. But curiosity and fear gnawed at me until I couldn't resist. At 2 a.m., I grabbed a flashlight and crept down to the basement. The door stood slightly ajar. The metal hinges groaned as I pushed it open. A blast of cold, damp air hit my face. The beam of my flashlight illuminated a narrow stairwell leading down into blackness. I should have stopped there. I should have turned around, locked it, and called the landlord. But something in me, some horrible, reckless part, wanted to see. Step by step, I descended. The smell grew stronger, a mix of mildew and something rotten. My light flickered over graffiti on the walls, scrawled words and symbols I didn't recognize. At the bottom, the stairs opened into a room. Concrete walls, no windows, a single bare mattress on the floor, chains bolted to the wall and stains. Dark, sprawling stains on the concrete that could only be one thing: blood. I staggered back, bile rising in my throat. That's when I heard it. Breathing. Slow, ragged, coming from the far corner. I swung my flashlight toward the sound. And there she was, the girl from my class, crouched in the shadows, her hoodie pulled tight around her. Her eyes glowed in the beam of my flashlight. She smiled, wide and unnatural, and whispered, "You finally found me." I bolted up the stairs, slamming the door behind me. My hands shook so badly I could barely get the lock turned. I ran back to my apartment, trying to convince myself I'd hallucinated the whole thing. But when I burst through the door, Jared was gone. His phone sat on the counter, his shoes by the door. But Jared wasn't there, and taped to the fridge was another note. This one said, "He's with me now." I haven't gone back to that basement since. I can still hear him sometimes, though. When the apartment is quiet, when I'm alone, I swear I hear Jared's voice calling faintly through the vents. And last night, I woke to find a new note on my nightstand, in perfectly neat handwriting. Your turn. I should have known something was off the moment she walked into our dorm room for the first time. Her name was Allison, or at least that's what she told the housing office. She was tall, pale, and had the kind of eyes that didn't seem to blink enough. When she shook my hand, her grip lingered too long and her smile was tight, stretched at the corners, like she was forcing herself to mimic how people smile. The first few days were normal enough. She unpacked neatly, stacking her books alphabetically, lining her pens by color and folding every piece of clothing like she was preparing for inspection. I chalked it up to being organized. But then little things started to feel wrong. She always asked questions. Too many questions. What time do you usually sleep? How many times do you shower a week? What foods don't you like? Who do you text the most? At first I thought she was just trying to get to know me, but her stare was too intense, too fixed, like she wasn't interested in friendship. She was gathering data. One night I came back late and found her sitting at my desk, staring at my laptop screen. When she realized I was there, she smiled too quickly, shut the lid, and said, "I was just checking something." I told myself it was creepy but harmless. Still, I started locking my laptop. Then came the diary. It wasn't mine, of course, it was hers. I didn't mean to find it. It was just sitting there one afternoon on her bed, open to a page filled with tiny, deliberate handwriting. I swear I didn't intend to read it, but one line caught my eye. "She twitches in her sleep sometimes. I think it's cute." My stomach turned. She was writing about me. I flipped through more pages. She sets her alarm for 6:45 a.m. but snoozes twice. It's funny to watch her panic when she realizes she's late. She bites her nails when she's nervous. Maybe I should hide the nail clippers. I timed her shower today. 11 minutes, 42 seconds. Shorter than last week. Every single page was about me. My habits, my expressions, the way I spoke. Even the exact number of times I laughed during a conversation. She was tracking me like an experiment. And then I reached the most recent entry. She doesn't know I was in her parents' house. She didn't notice the picture frame missing. I dropped the diary like it burned me. My blood ran cold. My parents lived 3 hours away. There was no way she could have gone there, unless she'd followed me home over break. From then on, I couldn't look at her the same. Every night I pretended to sleep while listening to her breathing in the dark. Sometimes it was steady, other times shallow, like she was holding her breath and watching me. I tried confronting her, casually at first. "Hey, I noticed you write a lot. What do you write about?" She smiled slowly. "Just observations." "What kind of observations?" Her smile widened. "The kind that matter." I didn't push further. I was too scared of what she'd say. The breaking point came one Friday night. I was supposed to be out with friends, but the plan got canceled last minute, so I came back to the dorm early. The door was locked from the inside. I knocked softly, confused, and after a pause, Allison opened it just a crack. Her face was flushed, eyes wide, as if she hadn't expected me back. Behind her on my desk, I caught a glimpse of something that made my stomach drop. Photos, dozens of them, spread out neatly. Pictures of me, walking to class, eating lunch, brushing my teeth in the communal bathroom, even sleeping in my bed. She slammed the door shut before I could say anything. When she opened it again, everything was gone. The photos, the evidence, all vanished. "You must have been imagining things," she said with that too wide smile. But I knew what I'd seen. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 3 a.m., I got up to get some water. When I came back, she wasn't in bed. Her blanket was neatly folded, her pillow untouched. Then I noticed something odd. Her diary was on my desk. Open, waiting. This time, the entry was different. She looked at the photos tonight. I think she understands now. I think she knows she belongs to me. My heart hammered as I turned the page. She's reading this right now. She doesn't know I'm behind her. My blood froze. I spun around, and there she was. Standing less than a foot away, smiling, eyes unblinking, a camera dangling loosely from her hand. The next morning, I went to the housing office and begged for a room transfer. They promised to move me by the end of the week. But Allison seemed to know. That night, another entry appeared in her diary, placed carefully on my bed. She thinks she can leave. She doesn't realize I already packed her things. She doesn't realize she's moving somewhere else. I stared at it for a long time, heart pounding. Then I checked my closet. My suitcase was gone, and taped to the inside of the empty closet door was a single Polaroid picture. Me, sleeping, with Allison standing over me, her hand wrapped around my throat, and the caption scrawled beneath it read, "Tomorrow." When I was 13, my family moved into a 2-story house in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Ohio. It wasn't anything special, just beige siding, a small backyard, and creaky wooden floors, but to me, it was a palace compared to the cramped apartment we had before. There was only one thing I didn't like about the place: the upstairs bathroom. The bathroom had this massive old mirror that stretched across the entire wall above the sink. The glass wasn't clean and sharp like modern mirrors. It was slightly warped, like water had seeped into the silver backing over the years, giving reflections a faint ripple. I hated looking into it for too long. The first night we moved in, I brushed my teeth and swore I saw something move in the reflection even though I was standing perfectly still. I told my mom, and she laughed. "It's just an old mirror, honey. They play tricks on your eyes." But it wasn't just tricks. A week after moving in, I woke up in the middle of the night thirsty. The kitchen downstairs felt too far away, so I went into the bathroom for a glass of water from the tap. The hall light was off, and the moon shone faintly through the small bathroom window, casting long shadows. When I turned on the sink, I glanced up and froze. Someone else was in the mirror. It wasn't me. At least, not exactly. The figure wore my pajamas, had my same messy hair, but the face, it wasn't right. The eyes were too wide, the smile too sharp. I stepped back, heart racing, and the reflection stayed pressed close to the glass, smiling at me with an intensity that made my stomach flip. I bolted back to bed, pulling the covers over my head. The next morning I convinced myself I'd imagined it, just a trick of being half asleep. Until it happened again. Every few nights I'd wake up to some strange noise, the faucet dripping, the floor creaking, and when I'd glance into the mirror, I'd see her, always her. Always that smile. At first, I thought maybe it was some ghost tied to the mirror. But one night, I realized the truth was worse. I had gone into the bathroom to grab my toothbrush. The mirror version of me was already there, waiting, her hand pressed against the glass as if she'd been anticipating me. But when I raised my arm to grab the toothbrush, she didn't copy me. Instead, she tilted her head in a way I hadn't, her grin stretching wider, her fingers scratching faintly against the glass. That's when I understood. She wasn't me. She was something else. Something pretending. I started avoiding the bathroom at night, but she didn't like being ignored. Soon I'd catch glimpses of her in other reflections. In the darkened TV screen, in the shiny surface of the toaster, even in the faint shimmer of the car window. Always just for a second. Always looking directly at me with that same expression. One afternoon, I came home from school to find a sticky note on my pillow. In neat, almost childlike handwriting, it said, "Let me out." I didn't tell my parents. I was too scared they'd think I was crazy. Instead, I started keeping my bedroom mirror covered with a towel. But it didn't matter, because one night I woke to the sound of laughter. Not loud, soft, almost playful. I sat up, heart pounding, and turned toward my dresser. The towel had been removed. The mirror was bare, and she was sitting on the other side, cross-legged, grinning at me like we were old friends. I didn't sleep much after that. Days blurred together. I became obsessed with avoiding reflections. I stopped using the bathroom upstairs altogether, using the small half-bath downstairs instead. But she adapted. One evening, when I was doing homework, my laptop screen went black as the battery died. And there she was, staring back at me from the reflection, her smile wider than ever. That night, I dreamed she was crawling out of the mirror, her pale hand smearing the glass as she pushed against the barrier. I woke up gasping, sweat dripping down my face, convinced I'd see her standing at the foot of my bed. But the bed was empty. For the moment. The final straw came the night I stayed up late watching TV in the living room. The house was quiet, my parents long asleep. I got up to grab some water, and as I passed the hallway mirror, I froze. She was there again, but not in the glass. She was standing behind me. I didn't even turn around. I ran straight upstairs, slammed my bedroom door, and shoved my dresser in front of it. My chest heaved as I pressed my back to the wall, praying it had just been my imagination. That's when I noticed something. The mirror in my room, the one I always kept covered, was uncovered again. The towel lay crumpled on the floor. and scrawled across the glass, written backward so it was readable only in the reflection, were 4 words. Tomorrow I come through. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the corner of the room clutching a baseball bat, staring at the mirror, waiting. Hours passed. My eyelids grew heavy. Around dawn, exhaustion overtook me. When I woke, the first thing I noticed was the silence. The kind of silence that presses down on you, heavy and unnatural. I slowly lifted my head and froze. The mirror was empty, not just empty of her, empty of me. There was no reflection at all, and when I glanced at my hand, I saw nothing. No fingers, no skin, no body in the glass. Just her, standing where I should have been, smiling. I used to babysit a lot in high school. It was an easy way to make money, and most of the families in my neighborhood trusted me because I was quiet, polite, and didn't throw wild parties like some of the other kids my age. I never thought babysitting would put me in danger. But then came the Cooper family. They lived in a big old Victorian house at the edge of town, the kind of place with narrow hallways, tall ceilings, and way too many rooms. Mr. and Mrs. Cooper both worked late shifts at the hospital, so they hired me to watch their 6-year-old daughter, Lily, a couple nights a week. Lily was sweet, a little shy, but easy to get along with. The first night was normal. We ate mac and cheese, played a board game, and I tucked her into bed around 9. After she fell asleep, I sat in the living room scrolling on my phone until her parents came home. Easy money. But the second night, things got weird. After I put Lily to bed, I was heading downstairs when I heard whispering. At first, I thought maybe she was talking in her sleep, but when I paused outside her door, I realized there were 2 voices. One was definitely Lily's. The other was low, raspy, and not a voice I recognized. I pushed the door open, heart pounding. Lily sat up in bed, eyes wide. "Who were you talking to?" I asked. She glanced at the corner of the room. Allison. The name made my stomach drop. I didn't know why, but hearing it sent a chill through me. "Who's Allison?" "My friend," Lily said simply. "She comes out when it's dark." I laughed nervously. "Like an imaginary friend?" Lily shook her head. "No, she's real. She told me so." I tried to shrug it off. Kids have wild imaginations, right? But as I turned off the light, I swore I saw something move in the corner of the room. A faint outline, like someone slipping back into the shadows. That night, after Lily was asleep, I wandered into the kitchen to grab a soda. That's when I noticed something taped to the fridge. A drawing in crayon. Lily's handwriting, messy and uneven. It showed a tall girl with long black hair and hollow eyes, standing next to a small stick figure labeled me. Above the drawing, in shaky letters, Lily had written, "Me and Allison." I told myself it was just a kid's creepy drawing, but my hands were shaking as I shoved it into my backpack. The third night, I decided to keep a closer eye on her. After dinner, Lily sat at the table, doodling quietly while I washed dishes. "Are you drawing Allison again?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She looked up, smiling faintly. "She wants me to." I froze. "Where is Allison right now?" Lily pointed behind me. I spun around, heart racing, but the kitchen was empty. When I turned back, Lily was staring at me, her smile gone. "She doesn't like you." I didn't know what to say. I just sent her to bed early and sat on the couch, my eyes flicking nervously toward the dark hallway every few minutes. That's when I heard the laughter. It wasn't Lily's laugh. It was deeper, older, almost wrong. I crept upstairs, the sound growing louder as I reached her room. The door was cracked open. Inside, Lily was sitting cross-legged on the floor, talking to the coroner again. "She says you're scared of her," Lily said without turning around. "She says you should be." My throat tightened. "Lily, there's no one there." But then, from the darkness of the corner, I heard it. A voice. Low, raspy, almost playful. You shouldn't lie to her. I bolted, slamming the door shut and standing in the hallway with my heart racing. I swear I heard Lily giggling on the other side mixed with that other laugh. I told the Coopers the next day. I tried to be vague, not wanting them to think I was crazy. Lily's been saying some strange things, I explained, about a girl named Allison. Mrs. Cooper's face went pale. She exchanged a look with her husband before finally saying, "You must have misheard her. She doesn't have an imaginary friend." But I could tell from their expressions that they were hiding something. I didn't press it. But when I got home, I pulled out Lily's crayon drawing again. For the first time, I noticed something I hadn't before. Behind the stick figures, faint but deliberate, Lily had drawn a door, and written above it, "Basement." The next night I couldn't help myself. After Lily fell asleep, I went exploring. The Cooper's basement door was at the far end of the kitchen. I'd never opened it before. The steps creaked under my weight as I descended. The basement smelled of dust and damp concrete. My flashlight flickered across shelves of boxes, tools, and holiday decorations. Nothing out of the ordinary. Then I saw it. In the far corner, a small door set into the wall, barely big enough for a child to crawl through. It was padlocked, and carved into the wood, over and over, were the words, "Allison." My stomach dropped. I bolted upstairs, slammed the door, and pretended I hadn't seen it. But Allison didn't like being ignored. That night I woke to the sound of Lily crying. I rushed to her room and froze. She wasn't in bed. The covers were neatly folded, her pillow undisturbed. On the floor, in the same messy crayon handwriting, a note had been scrawled. "She came through the door. She's with me now." I ran to the basement, fumbling with the lock on the small door. It was open. The lock lay broken on the floor. I shined my flashlight into the darkness beyond, and deep inside I heard Lily's voice, soft, trembling. "Help me." But behind it, overlapping, came another voice, raspy, familiar. "She doesn't want to come back." The Coopers never called me again after that night. When I asked around, neighbors said they'd suddenly moved away, no forwarding address. Sometimes I wonder what happened to Lily, but more often I wonder if Allison followed me home. Because last week, when I walked into my kitchen late at night, I found a new crayon drawing taped to my fridge. It showed a tall girl with hollow eyes standing next to a stick figure labeled "Me." And this time, the stick figure wasn't Lily. It was me. I've never believed in curses, hauntings, or any of that supernatural garbage. My mom used to drag me to church when I was younger, but once I hit high school, I dropped all that faith stuff. Life was simple. What you see is what you get. At least that's what I told myself until I met her. It started with a mirror. I'd just moved into a new apartment. Nothing fancy, just a small one-bedroom place downtown with cracked walls and pipes that moaned at night. The previous tenant had left a few things behind, including an old, full-length mirror standing in the corner of the bedroom. The glass was scratched, the wooden frame chipped, but I didn't have money to buy a new one, so I kept it. The first few days were normal. I'd catch myself glancing at it as I dressed for work or brushed my hair. But one night, as I walked past it on my way to bed, I thought I saw something. Not my reflection, something behind me. I froze, whipping around, but the room was empty. My heart thudded against my ribs as I looked back at the mirror. Nothing. Just my tired face staring back at me. I told myself it was just the lighting, maybe my imagination. But I couldn't shake the unease curling in my stomach. The next night it happened again. This time I was brushing my teeth when I noticed movement in the glass. A figure. A girl. She stood just behind me, her hair long and tangled, her skin pale, almost gray. She wasn't smiling. She was staring at me. I spun around, dropping my toothbrush into the sink. No one was there. My reflection looked normal. but I swear I felt breath on the back of my neck. Sleep became impossible. Every time I turned off the light, I felt her watching me. I tried covering the mirror with a blanket, but every morning, the blanket would be on the floor. On the fourth night, I heard a voice. Soft, feminine. "Why don't you look at me?" I bolted upright in bed, heart pounding. The room was silent, but I knew the voice hadn't come from outside. It had come from the mirror. I wanted to smash the damn thing, but some part of me couldn't. Instead, I started avoiding it, refusing to glance in its direction. But the less I looked, the more I felt her there, waiting. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I dragged the mirror down to the dumpster behind the building, tossing it onto the heap of garbage. My hands shook with relief as I walked back upstairs. That night I slept soundly for the first time in weeks, until I woke up at 3 a.m. and saw it, the mirror, back in the corner of my bedroom. I screamed, stumbling out of bed. My hands clawed at the frame, but when I tried to move it, it wouldn't budge. It was as if it were bolted to the floor, and in the glass she was smiling. The next day I called the landlord. I told him about the mirror, about how I wanted it gone. His voice went stiff on the phone. "You still have that thing?" "What do you mean?" I asked. He sighed. "You should have just broken it." That night, curiosity got the better of me. I sat in front of the mirror, staring at her. She stared back, her head tilted at an unnatural angle. Finally, I whispered, "Who are you?" Her lips moved in perfect sync with mine, like any reflection should. But then she stopped, and I kept talking. I asked who you are. Her lips curled into a grin. "I'm you." From that moment, everything spiraled. I started losing time. I'd wake up in strange places. On the floor, in the bathroom, once even outside my apartment building in the dead of night with no memory of leaving my bed. My coworkers said I was acting strange. They said I was snapping at people, zoning out, talking to myself. One night after another blackout, I came home to find my bedroom walls covered in words. Scratched into the paint over and over was a single name, Allison. It clicked. I remembered the stories I'd heard as a kid. The urban legend of a girl who lived in mirrors, who fed off the fear of those who saw her. Some called her a demon. Others called her a curse passed from person to person. But everyone called her the same thing, Allison. My blood ran cold. I tried to fight her. I covered the mirror again. I stopped looking at it. I even tried leaving the apartment. But no matter where I went, reflections betrayed me. Windows, puddles, storefront glass. She was always there, smiling, waiting. Last week, things got worse. I woke up to find the mirror wasn't reflecting my room anymore. Instead, it showed a dark hallway stretching endlessly behind me. And in that hallway, Allison stood. But she wasn't still anymore. She was walking, closer. I tried screaming, but no sound came out. My throat locked up, my chest tightened. I could only watch as she approached the glass from the other side. Her hands pressed against it, long fingers smearing the surface. "Let me out," she whispered. I don't remember what happened after that. But when I woke, the glass was cracked, and there were bloody handprints on the inside. Now the mirror doesn't show me anymore. It shows her. She copies my movements, but her smile never fades. And sometimes when I turn away, I hear her voice behind me instead of in the glass. "You can't hide from yourself." I'm writing this now because I don't know how much longer I have. Yesterday, my neighbor knocked on my door asking why I'd been staring out my window all night. But I wasn't home. I'd been at my mom's place across town, trying to get away from the mirror. When I came back this morning, my window was wide open, and taped to the glass in messy crayon letters was a drawing. A tall girl with hollow eyes, holding hands with a stick figure labeled, "Me." And this time the figure wasn't Lily. It wasn't me. It was you.